Okay, so here we are back at St. Albans, same map, a little different disposition of forces. A couple of years have passed since the last battle. How many years between? Yeah, so 4 years up to between the first St. Albans and Blore-Heath, and then 2 more years to St. Albans. And during that time, Wakefield's happened, which I'm kind of, that would have been kind of a neat battle to see. That's where Richard gets eliminated, Richard, Duke of York, and it would have been kind of a neat thing to look at, a fairly large battle, but I'm not entirely sure why they didn't take a crack at it. Yes, it might be terribly one-sided in any way you look at it, but we've got other one-sided battles. There could be a lot of, what could be neat about Wakefield is you could do a number of different interpretations of what the battle is like, but yeah. There are plenty of scenarios in this one. Okay, so what's weird with this? This is a much larger battle than it looks right now. We got one little force of Lancastrians here, but these are all sitting off map, waiting to be brought in. In addition, the Yorkists, a little contingent of longbowmen here, and then, who is this? John Neville, doesn't have a title, with his forces back there in the midst of what is kind of a mess. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And there's other Lancastrians under Warwick back here. Okay. So, let's talk about the special rules for this scenario. The first is Yorkist reinforcements. Now, Warwick's got his forces spread out all over Hull and Creation, and some of them can't even reach here. Norfolk has a battle. But once a unit in Neville's battle is attacked by missile fire of any kind, or shock or charge combat of any kind, Neville will send forces, or I'll send a messenger to Warwick to bring reinforcements. From then on, he rolls a die. A 0 is considered a 10 in this special case, divided by 2. And that's how many York activations have to occur before Neville can show up. Now, I don't think I have a counter for that. I guess I could use the Norfolk entry DRM as my countdown. And that, I think, is full activations, not continuations. Use Warwick as the countdown, okay. Once the number of activations has occurred, the Yorkists can now use a free activation, a continuation, or a seizure by Warwick in order to enter him as reinforcements. He'll come in 4224, which is up here, where their little reinforcements marker is. Or, wait, maybe he can come in at the other road map space. Or 4235, which is down here. Okay, so he's got either of those. The Lancastrians start in this battle. We did some terrain discussion in the last St. Albans. That all still applies. They rewrote all the information in that. You know, it's a paragraph and not a big deal, but kind of an interesting choice to do that. We got caltrops. The whole rules for caltrops are almost repeated. That's a much bigger chunk of stuff, and basically the only difference between the two rule sets is now the Yorkists who have the caltrops, and they're spread out here, again placed at their whim. Some of them are real, some of them are fake. The only difference is if a mounted unit marches onto caltrops that are real, even if a Yorkist mounted unit marches onto them, they still have to undergo the disorder. Now you'll notice all of Neville's forces up here are disordered, and it's just a slowdown. They're able to activate, so that's not a real problem. There are pavises in the game. Some of the archers and the handgunners have them. Yes, there are handgunners in this one. They've got their problems too. That reduces your movement allowance by 2, -2 to fire die rolls against the front hex sides of the pavis, -1 to shock going through those front hex sides, and -1 to fire coming out through the front hex sides because there's some difficulty in shooting, out through the slots in them. There's also in here some little netting counters. I shouldn't play with the zoom. Facing hex sides. Apparently Neville set up some heavy netting studded with spikes between hedgerows. That's going to have effects from the terrain effects chart, and I hope there's just one St. Albans set here. It appears to be. So we should see spiked netting. It affects the charge die roll. It has no other effect according to that, and I don't think it disorders. If any combat unit from either side crosses a netting counter, it disappears. Now these, I suspect, are only for this battle. I have never heard of this being used anywhere else. Okay, so the Yorkists have longbowmen here who do not have a commander. That means a few things, one of which is they will always be out of command. They can be activated using a free activation as a single battle. They have no standard, so if they get a retire, they're eliminated. But they don't count towards the York flight total. They do have their own battle withdrawal number, though. All right, there was a group of Kentish Yorkists who turned coat. They had a deal with Lancaster. To reflect this, at the beginning of any activation, the Lancastrian player can designate any one Yorkish men-at-arms unit from Neville's battle anywhere on the map and remove it from the game. And this will count against their flight points. And also, I guess, the battle points. Should. It's not specified here. Okay. Now let's go to one more thing here. Timed engagement. This is going to be a 12-turn, 12 point time limit. Lancasters have to complete things before the Yorkists decide to pass 12 times. I don't know how likely they are to be passing. We haven't seen that happening in many of the battles, but when an act... Okay, so now the Yorkists have the ability to withdraw from this battle because they don't particularly want to fight here, facing most of the Lancastrians. So if an activation ends with the Lancastrian flight total at 20 or more, even if it ever drops below that, and Warwick has already entered the map, York can begin to withdraw units of Neville through one of the two roads. A unit pays 1 movement point to leave the map from one of these hexes. Each unit withdrawn caused the Lancastrian flight level to increase by the flight point value of the withdrawn units. Neville himself doesn't give anything, but you can withdraw them anyway. If these are withdrawn, they don't count towards Yorkist flight levels, and they don't affect the battle flight. Yeah, they mention it specifically there. If Warwick fails a battle flight die roll and his battle flees, the Lancastrian player wins the instant that no unit of Neville's battle is on the map, whether through withdrawal or elimination. So the idea here... I don't know why it's only Neville who can withdraw, and why not Warwick as well. But I don't know why that decision's there. But the idea here is to withdraw enough of the force to be able to regroup and have this battle somewhere better. Edward, future Edward IV, right, is kicking around with a big force as well, and if the Yorkists can get the two forces together, they'll be in a stronger position. Okay, let's see what else. We have some optional rules. One of which is that there's a little bit of rain. Oh no, it's damp weather. The Burgundian handgunners were unable to always fire particularly well, and you make a check on a 7 or more before they fire. At any time they're trying to fire, they fail. Now, these longbowmen were actually surprised there's an optional rule to make them the surprise have more effect. We got a Oasis joke coming. Flight levels, Lancasters is at 40. They have a huge army. It's going to be hard to get them to run away. The Yorkist is only 25. But again, well, two things. These guys don't count. And Neville's battle, if it all withdraws, is quite a few points that you can take off the Lancastrians. On the other hand, you kind of want to make them pay a little bit. And that's about it for this. I have to mention the Lancastrian dismounted men-at-arms. If I wish, I can mount those up and bring them in as mounted men-at-arms if I want. And they're all coming in from here. Now, this is actually a big thing that I didn't mention. Why didn't I see a hair? Because, yeah. Okay, so the Lancastrians, yeah, this is pretty big. Camping on their other units until they've eliminated at least one of the independent longbow units. Or an activation ends with none of them occupying one of their starting hexes on that main market street there. Or... no. And after that, Trollope makes it back to here, at which point he's telling Somerset, the overall commander, what the hell's going on here, and that there's, you know, a contingent over there, I guess. I don't know why he has to go into the town, but there's some discussion that this was hard to decide because there's no way that things would flow the way they did in implying a perfect knowledge bar game. So some scripting is in place with this attacking in and running away, I guess, and maybe some other facets as well. Also, there's some source mentioning that there was artillery present, but that the weather prevented their firing. But it's not conclusive. So there's no artillery in the game either way, though. All right. So Trollope has to come down here and kind of do something successful against those archers. Arch up and see what we get. And yeah, I'll roll this because this is kind of important. It doesn't matter. I can only fire one of these archers. This is a little different from what I remember the game being. I'm not sure if that's the case. Basically, I don't remember this rule existing. Definitely different from how I've played the Great Battles of History, where all archers get to do fire in reaction. But let's see what we got. That's a dismounted man-at-arms, which is difficult to shoot at. I'll fire with the guy who doesn't have a Pavis because he's bonused. He's at close range +1. That's the normal unit, but he has a -1 due to firing at dismounted men-at-arms. 5 is enough to disrupt. I didn't roll a 9, so I don't have to roll a casualty check. Do I want to attack anyway? Well, I don't know. I've got other units to move, but I have to be careful because walking through the town spaces... geez. You know what they don't tell you? Like, here they say automatically disordered after crossing, great. But what they don't tell you is whether or not these houses disorder you. And I thought they did, but I'm not sure. So let's see if there's a rule on that. No, there's nothing there of any interest. So my guess is that we can try to creep through the houses to try to get more force against them. Of course, That's more units that might get disordered. With this tight situation, one of the rules comes into play here very easily. Well, if I want to attack, I have to attack both these units. Now, let's calculate out, I don't think we're gonna, let's calculate out what the shock value is for this. So first things first, I've got dismounted men-at-arms hitting regular bowmen. That gives me a +2, that's kind of nice. So now, strength advantage, we have the disadvantage, that's -1. The defender has no penalty. The attacker is disordered, that puts me to -1. Another -1 for the Pavis 1, so I'm at -2 total. However, I do have a +1 for my leader. And the question is whether I want to try this. I'd be at -1 and -2, which doesn't sound good at all. Remember, I make both attacks. There's a good chance that I'd have to retreat, or I'd just be, well, I'm already disordered, shit. But that doesn't matter, it's only the defender who matters. So there's a good chance that I'd take a disorder. Now, I don't know what happens. If I'm disordered when I'm disordered, I think I may retire. I'm not positive. Again, I'm not used to this kind of situation, like attacking with stuff that's in bad shape, but I really do have to get a move on these things, or else, one, there could just be passes, or two, I'm just standing here in front of these bows and they can shoot the shit out of my already disordered unit. So, let's see results. No additional effects. So I think I kind of have a good bonus here. I can stand there and fight, or I can get a retreat, which might be a good thing anyway. So let's do this at, I believe we said -1 and -2. Are we sure of that? We're at +1 or +2 from shock, -1 from strength. Attacker's disorder gets us down to -1. Yeah, I think I forgot to add the charisma value in, so I think it's 0 and -1 actually. Defender shock DRM none. Strength advantage -1. Weapon system matrix brings us up to +1. The attacker's disorder brings us back down to -1. The Pavis goes down to -2. So yeah, it's at 0 and -1. So I'm going to make that attack. First one at 0. If I can disrupt this a little bit, it'll make it much easier to go in. So I get a 7. The defender's disordered or retreat. Now remember, if he leaves this hex, that's okay. It's that I have to scare them all away that it's a problem. So we'll just back up. I got a possible advance into there, but we'll see. Now this one's at -1. And I do not get very lucky here. I get an attacker disordered, which doesn't affect anything, but I do have to make a casualty check on a 7 or higher. We have a casualty. And we do. I don't know where to put him to remind me, but we just took a hit of a leader. Now we have to find, yeah, I know. We have to find out what the cost for that is, and I'll do that offline. What's important about that is I can't roll a continuation against him, which I could have done otherwise, because he's not on the map anymore. The reason I could do it anyway is because there'd be only one battle on the map, but there's no possibility of that, so now we're getting a free activation over here. And of course the question is whether we want to shoot the shit out of those out of the trollops dismounted men. Now I think I may be missing something in the victory conditions, because supposedly there's like victory conditions that can end in a Yorkist victory very quickly. They probably have to do with these guys never being able to make it on the map. There's no real victory conditions listed in scenarios here. There's the flight levels, and those don't really talk about it. Yorkist withdrawal, but that doesn't really talk about it. There doesn't seem to be anything here about this special victory. The only place it's not mentioned here in Lancastrian reinforcements, that I looked at, I don't know. You know, sometimes I'm not great at reading, but I didn't see it there. The one place I see it here is in playing times and in balance. Playing time average around 2.5 hours for the playtesters. Some battles going more than 5. Removing early Yorkist victories, the average is 3 to 3.5 hours, but it can end in 30 minutes due to early Yorkist victory conditions. Now, I don't see those. I don't know if they're hidden somewhere that my view just didn't have it. But as the rules are stated, if we don't dislodge or kill a longbowman with trollop, there's no way to bring all this in. And I did, you know, a lot of work, and probably I'll replay it because it'll be kind of dull. But yeah, so that's going to be the Yorkist goal, is to wipe out Trollop's forces, and then we'll be able to slip away. And the battle just basically doesn't happen. Some actions that I want to undo because I forgot about my seizure chips. I'm going to play a near-miss seizure to prevent Trollop from dying. Put him here for a moment. Now he gets a continuation on a 4. He gets it. I could have tried to trump in with a seizure, but I didn't want to do that. Well, yeah. If he's not dying, let's go in with the seizure as well. And they do not have a seizure negation, because I think this is the way you win the game. So now I need a 0 through 6, and then if I get that, I'll put everything back. Let's see if I can. I'll let everything be what it is. They do not. So what that means, and I think this is why the Lancastrians have so many markers, is so that they have a chance at this. What that means is I had killed this guy, and I don't want him dead. And that gives me a battle point, and that was 3 of these, plus the 2 for the leader that I killed. So yeah, now things look a little bit better. And now with the continuation, I can do some stuff to try to bring forces forward and try to get more weight against these guys. Because if they didn't get that continuation, if the units start getting shot up, this was going to be a Lancastrian loss right off the bat. And they did have all these markers, I just forgot to set them up. So, with the new move, I don't really want to give him 2 shots. If I move here, I give him 2 shots. So I'm going to move here. I'll face them. We'll try to blink them. We'll make some other moves elsewhere. I'm not quite sure what. This guy, pull back here. We'll move him in. He gets shot at. This is kind of the exciting part of the battle. I mean, you know, in a weird sort of way, it's the weird part of the battle, I guess. I've got that Pavis in my way, so I've got a -1 to my +1. That's good enough to disrupt. And I may not want to attack because of the location. This guy comes 1-4 to here. And then I got these crappy levy infantry, which I'll just push forward. All right. Oh, when this guy finished his movement, I get a shot with him. So he's a range 2 bowman. which is at +1. And he's being shot back at the same time by this guy. So 3 + 1 is 4. That didn't have an effect. This guy's going to be a +1 as well, but shooting at the houses gives a -1, so it evens out. But it's good enough to disrupt him. So now I'm in this situation again. I have an infantry versus a longbow. I'll definitely do that shock attack, but do I want to do this one? I haven't moved my leader yet. I'll just put him in here. I'll just do this one. It's, again, you know, I've got to disrupt them in order to kill them, and this is going to be bad. I'm going to take some hits here, I think. But I might get another continuation. Maybe, maybe. And I have an Into the Breach, which I actually should have used on this, but we'll leave that alone for now. Because I did kind of need to move him. And I didn't want to be, like, I don't know. I guess I didn't have to. What are we doing here? We're making this attack. Infantry versus bowmen. We haven't done that before. That's a +1. And another +1 for the leader. We get an 11. That will disorder the defending unit, no matter what. No way out of that. And now, we were not going to do the other one. So we're going to try for another continuation. We're at -1, so we need a 0 through 3. There's no seizures left. We get it, and that's going to be a good thing, because now we can try to rally this. I can rally this with an Into the Breach if I so desire. I don't know that I do. Let me think. Mistaking that for Battle Cry. I may have misplayed it in another scenario. This gives a +1 DRM, which might be useful as well. I might be able to finish this thing off very easily with that. Then again, I don't think I really need it, so we'll see. I don't know if I can shoot when I'm disordered. Yes, I can. It's at a -1. I think we'll do that because we want to kill one of these. That gets us started in our goal. So let's see. That's going to be a +1. What did I say? -2 on that. So -1 net against a disordered unit. If I can get a 5 or higher. And I do. This is retired or actually destroyed. It doesn't count against his route level though. But it does beat up on that battle. Okay, that's great. I've succeeded in my goal. Now I can run back. Where do I need to get? Good question. We can't remember all kinds of little things like that. We've eliminated it, and Trollope himself has to end up in St. Michael's Church. Well, we may want to continue our fight. Then again, we may not. He's only got a range of 7. That's as far as he gets. Let's pull back a little bit. Yeah, I want to make sure that I get my people in. This guy was standing back so that he can recover. Right then, and we could get another continuation. We're at -2 on the die roll now, but still a chance. There's no limit to these except for, you know, minuses from the die roll. We do not. We're handing it over here, but we played this. That should be gone. But it does look like we're going to get to play the battle out. It might not have been the case if I had not gotten the near miss over there. If I didn't have that in my set. That's what the Yorkists want to do. I want to rally these eventually. 12 is a lot. I want to get these longbowmen probably over near my other troops. What are my rules again? Because I can't ever remember when scenario rules and stuff get too complicated. The Yorkist, I have to be attacked in some way. Or attack, right? Yeah. For trouble to happen. I think I want to activate the longbows and start moving them to help defend those forces. Because Lancaster can completely ignore these bows or just, you know, dispatch some forces to kind of make sure they don't launch an attack. So I think what I want to do is get them moving. Out of the town, or at least to anchor this part of the area of the town instead of where I am. Let's get him only to there. I can get a shot off with him. I could get a shot off with these guys too. Oh. Let's see who this guy could get a shot even, I think. That looks like it crosses. This does not. This is on the barrier. So I got a -1 for the Pavis, and I can drop those Pavises if I want. -1 for the Pavis. Why am I doing so much detail on this one? I don't know. -2. No, -1 for the building. So I'm at -2, and I'm at range 1, 2, 3, 4. Puts me to -3. I don't have much of a chance of doing damage at that range, but I don't. And this guy, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's at range 3, no penalty for that, so I'm just at -1 there. And I do disrupt him. Leader lost check too. Now I check these because I want to rally them. And that's successful. I'm not going to waste seizures on this kind of thing, which means I'll be flipping them over. And then I think I can keep trying to rally him because I don't think this counts as a battle. I can try to maneuver these guys on another continuation. So we'll put this over here. And there was no further continuation. That was just are no longer demoralized. Over here, I can undemoralize these guys. They did not move. Some of the others did. So if you see a difference in positions, but those guys did not. And I can start bringing these guys in. Now I can only bring them in one at a time in the order that they're coming. Beaufort comes in with any. I don't think that I'm allowed to use him. I better look up the overall commander's rules. I haven't had an overall commander who, well, let's see this. Yeah. Okay. So I can't do a battle move and try to move everybody in at once. So I have to make a check on Exeter. He gets to move with any wing though. Or enter with any wing. He also gets to move with any wing because he's the overall commander. So what are we doing? What are we doing? We moved him. This is the continuation attempt. I needed 2 or less. I do not get it, which puts things back over here to the Yorkists. What moved is the archers, and now I have a free activation. I can bring Clifford in, or Holland, sorry, in this case, in with Beaufort. Clifford is dead. I don't know who's whoever. So that seems like a reasonable thing to do. And then I can go for a continuation with him if I've brought in enough forces. Because this whole force has not come on yet, and I gotta throw him down somewhere. relatively safe. Yeah, let's just be sure. Bring Beaufort in too. I can't try to activate one of these. So the only thing I have left is over here, and he's under there. Make a check to see if he manages to. He does not. So we're back over here. At this point, you could say, well, maybe you just want to pass. But I do want to kind of position myself better. I'm all facing up this way. I want to get that turned so that I'm actually like facing possible enemies from the battlefield instead of this weird situation. And I probably want to think about moving my archers again. I'll get another chance to do so. I think it's more important for me to move Neuville at this point. And I can always try to continue with him as well. All of Exeter's troops have made it on the map. There's just not room to bring another column in, so I have to activate him yet again. You can see Neuville has gotten his defensive position. I got the archers here. I think they can hold the outskirts of the town against anything pretty reasonable. There's some danger of a force moving down this way around the end. There's very little defensive positioning for this, and that's kind of the risk. But yeah, I don't know if that's where the main blow is going to land to begin with. Lancastrians get a couple activations here. Pushed out of the way, made some room for Shrewsbury to start bringing his forces in. I'm bringing mounted forces in because I'm planning on swinging around that way. Oh, caltrops over there. They're not allowed. I guess I could have built a wall of caltrops and kind of made a defensive. This would have been really against the spirit of the battle, but I could have built caltrops along here and fallen back into the hedgerow behind this Sandridge way. It wouldn't be totally unreasonable, I guess, to assume that you'd have to fall back into a position, but it's certainly not how they're set up, and it's not the intent. So rather than trying to be gamey about that, it might be useful for the Yorkists because they're kind of in trouble. But anyway, those are coming on, and I started moving, what's his name, Trollope, his forces forward. Whoa, that's not an archer. I thought that was an archer, and it moved further than it should. Let's back up a space. I was considering whether to fire with that because I thought I was an archer, and no, I can't. But it would have been a bad move anyway because I would have been firing a very long range and gotten better fire from the defenders than I'm creating. The main reason for moving them is to get them out of the way so I can start pulling Shrewsbury's forces down through the town. I don't really expect these guys to do a whole hell of a lot as a command. They're well led. They have a 4 activation, so I may actually, if I get a lot of continuations, I may actually roll for him every now and then. Because my other leaders are not that good. My army leader is, but that's only of any importance if I do an army command and then another army command. Well, I guess I could do an army command for the units that are on the board, and the rest of Shrewsbury. I wouldn't be able to bring this in with my next activation since I'm mainly just trying to maneuver. There was some firing down here, though. You can see, maybe should have rolled for him because he's got some disordered troops that might get shot up. But he also disordered. So, that's important. Okay. That is the condition that the Yorkists have, which is at the end of their activation after this unit's been attacked, I get to roll a die and halve. So I gotta remember that, and I'm gonna put him on top of these dice to help remind me because I don't really feel like getting that deep into the battle tonight. We're on the first Yorkist activation after they've been engaged, and we gotta roll a die for Warwick here to see when he shows up. It'll be halved. By the way, kind of neat. This is a surprise holiday for me. I usually get a couple of them a year where I log into work and find out, yeah, I didn't have to be there. Good thing. So that, it's rounded up, I believe. Yep, so that's all. 4 turns from now. And each time we get, what, a free activation? Well, an activation. But that does not include continuations or whatever. So it's basically free activations. This will go down, and then eventually he'll show up. Right now, we don't have a lot of forces there, and if I recall correctly, we can't withdraw until after work shows up in order to boost losses, which did not happen this time. Situation, the Yorkists ended up firing and killing disordered longbowmen, and then they got a continuation or whatever, and shot this guy out. They're not using their handgunners. Well, I could actually use this one after he's been hit, right? So range 3 handgunner is -2. Now, if the shot doesn't go off, it doesn't go off, and I've got a better chance. So yeah, we're gonna do that. I think it's on a 7 or more, they don't go off. So we're both at -2 now because he gets his return fire at the handgun. The handgunner is actually at -3, but he's at -2 because of the +1 as well. He's got his Pavis. So we were both at -2, but then the Pavis, I forgot to include that. So it's -4 for the Lancastrian shot. And that's not going to hit. A 7 is enough to eliminate him. Something I don't think I took into account in one of the other battles, which is longbows are worth 2 when eliminated. I don't know if I had any eliminated longbowmen. I think I did. I think I counted them as 1 because archers are 1. Archers are a different class. They're non-longbowmen archers. So there we have it. Anyway, I lost the next momentum. I didn't get that, but I wanted to shoot that, get that extra shot off. Basically. Oh, yeah, this guy got hurt shooting, I guess. And if we'd gotten the momentum, I could have recovered. But I've gotten rid of some of his firepower, and his firepower is sort of the most dangerous thing to me. Because the infantry really has to kind of come charging up, and it's pretty easy to shoot up. But the longbows, getting those out of the way seems wise. I've got kind of the problem of, wow, I don't necessarily want to activate Essex here, but he's got some units that are exposed, and that's going to cause problems. Shrewsbury is making a little bit of movement down in this direction, cutting through the town where he can. And Trollope is getting kind of pieced up by fire from those archers. He had to move forward to make room for Shrewsbury's forces to get through at any speed. You know, I don't want to give passes. Neville has not been getting any activations. He can't get any continuations, so he's not able to kind of slaughter what's left up here. But it seemed very important to me to fire the archers at these guys, which means we're up to a 6 there. A hit over there. Like we're about ready to see some fighting. Essex is pushed forward a little bit. That makes some room over here for Percy. But I still need to move these down. And it's kind of problematic because now we got Warwick coming on the map. This looks like a bit of a boot plug in the way here that I'm not going to be able to clear very easily. And this doesn't look terribly pleasant. Killing those units is kind of important because those are the guys that can count against the Lancastrian points. Now, this is a big one. 40 for Lancaster. And I don't know. I'm not seeing the Yorkist points here for, there it is, 25 for the Yorkists. Now the Yorkists haven't lost anything yet. They lost one of those archers, but those don't count. And I don't know. We'll see how this develops. It looks pretty ugly for the attack right now. So Shrewsbury's forces continuing to try to form up here south of the town. And now Essex is launching his attack. I mean, you can see it's an across the board attack. We had some opportunity fire take place. It doesn't look to me like Neville's got things terribly well set up, honestly. He had some units kind of sticking around with their noses sticking out the edges that we've been able to get, you know, multiple attacks on and such not. The good defensive terrain meant that the attack wasn't terribly successful. We did disorganize and push back some longbowmen, but the infantry and dismounted men-at-arms that were hitting, we didn't budge them. We took disorders instead, which is good. Point is a similar situation as before with Essex launching shock attacks all across Neville. However, and some of those are disorganized units because of fire. The intermediate was a firing by these guys, which I think took out another unit up here, one of Essex's units. Just retired him. I don't think I killed anything. Then there was a sequence of a seize opportunity that failed and a failed continuation, which ended up putting things back over here. The fight is all focusing on this part. So far, what's his name? Shrewsbury and Warwick haven't engaged yet. There. They can charge, though. Yeah, that's an interesting factor. I don't remember the distance on charge. It's like 2 or 3 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not. They're not in charge range yet. But you got to be kind of careful. Just like in great battles of history, moving too close to someone means that they might be able to, you know, get that first shot in on you. The only difference is with these mounted guys, I can, and it's no big deal. Melee, normal shock attacks, it's not really an advantage to get that swing in, unlike in GBOH. But charges there might be, but there's the countercharge opportunity as well. The first round of attacks has been completed. There was a continuing attack coming out of here. I don't know how good that is. Regular infantry hitting both infantry, but also hitting handgunners from the flank. Let's see what that does. All right, let's do the handgunners first because I think that's my best option. And that's infantry against handgunners. That's a +2. I got some problems though because I'm going uphill and that's kind of nasty. So the defender's shock advantage, there isn't one. Strength advantage, there isn't one. Weapon system matrix, like I said, +2. The terrain causes a -1 for units going up a slope, but it gets worse than that. There's a continued attack modifier that brings it to -2. The attacker's not disordered, -2. Now here's the interesting one. All attacking units are on a lower level than defending unit. That brings us to -3. We were at +2 to begin with. Let's see. +2. Strength drops it down to +1. Terrain drops it down to 0. All attacking units lower drops it down to -1. The continued attack drops it down to -2. I think that's where we hit is -2, but we're hitting on a flank, so that zeroes it out. So that's not too bad. The Pavis doesn't protect because it's not in the front. The attack's coming from the flank. So this one has a chance of doing something. And it's not good. It's an attacker disordered. We have to remember that. I think these are simultaneous, but I gotta look that up. are, but the rule book wasn't terribly helpful to me. What was helpful was over on the extended sequence of play on the playbook, they have the exception listed here. It must be here. I must have just missed it. Yeah, there we go. It's in italics. When I see italics, I assume that that's not important and I can ignore it. Bad, assumption in the case of this rule book, but again, GMT rules don't tend to follow a singular policy, and then also, my familiarity is more with the SPI policy, so where you wouldn't have that kind of mix in. So here's the thing. Exception is here. We've got examples, we've got play notes, we've got historical notes, all this stuff's in italics. The exception should not be. It's part of the rules. The other stuff isn't part of the rules proper. So, but we've seen that grit before from me. So now we're hitting this, and that's, I think, infantry versus infantry. So that's a base. Oh, did I forget about his? I hope I didn't forget about his being disordered. He wouldn't have gotten a worse result. This was the worst he could get off the table. Attacker disordered. So let's look. We've got shock DRM is 0, no strength advantage, weapon system matrix goes to 0, defender's terrain is a -1 for the height. Continued attack brings it to -2, attacker's disorder -4. This isn't something I want it to do, right? I'm going to end up disordered, which has no effect. All attacking units are lower than the defending unit, brings us to -5, and we're hitting in the front. So nothing else happening. Roll a red die because this is Lancaster. And indeed, we get an attacker disordered, which has no additional effect. It just leaves me sitting in front of there. And now I rally this unit. I'm forgetting about these seizure counters, especially the enter of the breach, which only just gives +1 to melee, which, could be important, but I have passed on using it in some good situations. I think there's a good chance Thomas Neville here is, with his launching of a counterattack, he's got some advantaged attacks. He's going to actually probably use it somewhere. He himself doesn't have a combat or charisma bonus, so throwing him into battle doesn't really do any good. Not a lot gained over here. I was repulsed. Here, no effect. Here I did get a continued attack into there, but that ended up doing nothing. I killed one unit. Hey, whoopee. Didn't get the continuation. Forgot to use the into the breach, or just didn't use it, Whatever. Hard to tell. I withdrew the shit. I didn't want to make the shock attack before I made any of them. I made that choice. One of the biggies, though, was that during movement I managed to pull this guy back and shoot a unit, so that was also helpful. I don't know if it did much. But it may have disordered. Now, I shot at the disordered unit and I think I didn't get anything, but whatever. And now we're back on the Lancastrians here. And I think I'm going to call it a night. Kind of tired. Again, Essex is launching a big set of attacks against Neville here. Not a lot of gain. I disordered this. Didn't get any traction against that disordered archer. These guys slammed into the wall again. It's just, it's not moving forward the way I'd want it to. I haven't thrown Beaufort in over here, his +1, and I didn't use the into the breach. Kind of afraid to do either. I feel like I have this numerical superiority. It ought to be coming into effect. I tried my continuation over here because I want to bring another set of mounted troops in. See if I can position myself so I can have one force engage Warwick and the other force take his brother on, but that's not happening. I mean, it's not like there's any passes happening, so. And with this hand-to-hand struggle going on, Neville's launching his own counterattacks. Mainly try to crush a couple of units here, get back some terrain here to get a better front. Swapped handguns out, and this guy was disordered, so. Very poorly indeed, with failures here, over here, and no real successes. I guess, disordering this unit. One of the things that's neat about the combat table, and this is with all of them, you kind of have to soften a unit up before you can do any real damage to it. You have to hit it once and disorder it. And then I could hit you and disorder itself. But that throws us back over to the Lancastrians. These chits are really tough for me to remember and use. I think they're cute and everything, kind of like a CDG type of, hey, I got these limited special resources to use. You see them in a few tactical games now. The Stonewall Sword series has, little event chits that you can affect your situation with. And they give the players a little something else to worry about. And, tactical battles don't usually have a lot going on in them, but I'm pretty happy without them, and so used to games not having decisions like that it's hard for me to remember to use them. 6 launch is another big series of attacks, including kind of a soak-off attack over here, where he's hitting at poor odds so that I can get really good odds on this. I threw my Beaufort in there. I may throw my Chit in there. That's a demoralized unit, a disordered unit. I'd like to kill it, but the biggest thing is I need to blast through that space, get that netting out of the way, and open things up so that I can come around the 2 flanks, so that I can break a hole and either force that Yorkist line back, or much less likely get some flank attacks. And again, not a whole hell of a lot got done, but I did take this hex. I spent the Chit on it, eliminated a unit, and you can see this is dropping, but also this is beginning to increase. Now that has to get up to 25. 18, I guess, before I start rolling, or somewhere around there. No, 16 before I start rolling. But there's a lot less room to play around with the Lancastrians, or with the Yorkists, and no continuation again. So that swings it back. Oh, we also took out that archer. And there's a danger. I could end up sending someone out there, grab that standard, and make it so that Neville's forces can't recuperate from retired status. Now, we don't have anything that's gotten into retired status on their side yet. It's not all that often that it happens. You have to have the disordered result to get the retired, and then you have to roll a moderate level. But it definitely makes the unit less capable of sustaining, the combat for a while. You can see he's got quite a few retired units. Well, if this starts getting down low, then we're going to rally them just to get the penalties off there. Or, for that matter, if the overall number starts getting too high, then we also consider, bringing those units back will get us a few points there too. But yeah, it looks like Neville's having his position's getting degraded pretty quickly, and I'm not quite sure what to do. It may be time to try disengaging rather than anything else, and try to get that Lancastrian casualties up close to 40. These guys are worth what they're worth, which means, these guys are worth like 3 each to withdraw. So I can get quite a few points off without too much trouble. I'll load this one up because it's about an hour, and I don't think we're going to finish anytime real soon.